I'm Sofia. Welcome to In the Nook with Sofia on the Sofia Show. If you remember in the last chapter when we read who was Rosa Parks, we read about how Rosa Parks, she was very brave and her grandmother was sick and she had to take care of her and drop out of school. And I did tell you in the last chapter that, or video, that I would do the same thing if my grandmother was sick. That is amazing. Black girl magic right there. So, now we're going to read Chapter 3. Life with Raymond. Rosa was 18 when she met Raymond. He was 28 and working at a barbershop in Montgomery. A friend introduced them. Rosa was impressed by how smart he was. Raymond hadn't had much schooling, but he loved learning. That's me, guys. I love school. Raymond had suffered through hard times too. Like Rosa's father, Raymond's father had been a carpenter. He had died falling from a roof when Raymond was a little boy. That is so sad. I would cry out if my dad died. His mother, who had taught him to read and write, died when he was a teenager. Since then, Raymond had been on his own. Raymond talked a lot about the lives of blacks in the South. He was one of the first members of the Montgomery chapter of the National Association of the Advancement of Colored People, also known as NAACP. People liked and respected him. When Raymond and Rosa met, he was upset about a trial in Scottsboro, Alabama. 9 black teenagers were accused of attacking 2 white women on a train. The evidence against the boys was faked. The women were lying. Still, the jury convicted 8 of the 9 boys. They were all sentenced to death except for the youngest. He was only 12. Later, most of the sentences were lifted. However, the 8 boys served at least 6 years in prison for a crime they hadn't committed. Guys, that happens a lot. That happened a lot back in the day when the civil rights movement was going on. The black people, they were accused of crimes they didn't even do. Raymond Parks could not stop thinking and talking about this case. In fact, he could have been killed for his efforts to bring attention to the Scottsboro boys. Rosa was moved by Raymond's courage, and she was proud of him. On their first date, Raymond took Rosa for a ride on his shiny red sports car. On their second date, he proposed. 2 years later, in December 1932, they were married in Pine Level. The couple moved to Montgomery, not far from Alabama State University. National Association of the Advancement of Colored People, also known as NAACP. Founded February 12, 1909, the NAACP is America's oldest, largest, and most famous civil rights group. Among its founding members was the famous writer and historian W.E.B., also known as Webb. Webb Du Bois, I think. NAACP began in part to stop lynchings when an angry group of people seizes and hangs someone without a trial. Guys, honestly, I think that's illegal because that's confusing to me. So, just telling you. The NAACP celebrated its 100th anniversary in 2009. Raymond continued his work for the Scottsboro Boys. He held meetings in the park's front room, which is him and Rosa Parks. Rosa never forgot the first meeting. The man brought guns. It made Rosa sad that black women feared for their lives just because they were holding a meeting. Still, her husband's work spurred her on. Raymond wanted Rosa to go back to school, and she did. In 1934, she earned her high school diploma. At that time, hardly any black people in Montgomery were high school graduates. Also, you guys, a high school diploma means when you are graduating from high school, you get your certificate for graduating. Rosa was proud to be among the small number of blacks who did have a degree. Yet, she was still unable to find work that really challenged her. Instead, she took a job at a hospital as a nurse's assistant. She also did sewing on the side. Then, in 1941, she got a job as a secretary at an Army Air Force base in Montgomery called Maxwell Field. President Franklin D. Roosevelt had forbidden segregation at all United States military bases. Blacks and whites worked together, but when Rose left the base, she had to ride home on a segregated bus. Blacks had to sit in the back. It was unfair and made her deeply angry. Rosa Parks was a quiet person, but the anger lived inside her, growing day by day. Soon it became so large, she knew she would have to do something about it. Alright, that was chapter 3. Thank you guys for listening so well. And what I learned in chapter 3 was that her husband, he was like very defensive of the black community, I think. And, I'm actually very proud that, he was confident in the black community and wanted to help them. So, yeah, I actually think that would be pretty cool. Yeah. I hope you liked this chapter of the book, and I hope that you have a wonderful week, and see you guys later. Peace!